Okay. It is Thursday, September 2nd, 2021, and I am back at my favorite place, the pond, to take my daily meditation break and drink my ginger tisane, which has freshly boiled ginger and salt and 1 lime, and yeah, that's it. I didn't put an egg in this one because I've already eaten a few eggs. What I did do was, in the first infusion, this is the third, and there will be one more infusion after this one when I go back inside. What I did do was I added some of the coffee, the Trung Nguyen Vietnamese good quality coffee, into the first infusion of this ginger tisane. And the reason why I did that is because this afternoon, and starting in the late morning and into the afternoon, I'm having a significant amount of pain with the herniated disc, and so this is, as usual, my opportunity to drink the ginger tisane, which is extremely helpful for dealing with that pain. Okay, by the time I'm done drinking this teapot of ginger tisane, my level of pain will probably be down from, let's say, a level 8 out of 10 to maybe a level 5, something like that. Enough of an alleviation of pain through naturopathic means to justify taking that. But getting to this meditation stuff that I like to do, I've come to appreciate being able to do one of these videos, one of these meditation videos per day. The reason for that is that after I do the video, I usually go back into the room and I just kind of let it sit for a little while, a few hours, and then I watch it. I watch it as the consumer of this content, the consumer of these meditations. And through that, through watching it, through the receptive process, I'm able to draw more value out of what, this little, you can call it a production, whatever you want to call it, just a documentation. And when I rewatch these videos, I'm also able to sort of pinpoint the title of each of these meditations, and that title is what comes through in the title of the videos. It's the part which is in the quotes. So here we are back at the pond, back observing our object of meditation, right? This field of experience that we've sort of narrowed down and focused on. Interesting that I use the word focus, right? Because we're using a camera to focus on this field of experience, right? The pond. And again, what is the pond? The pond is a field, right? It's got the fish, it's got the water, it's got the rippling of the water that we see there, it's got the leaves that flow on top of the pond, it's got my voice is part of the field. We've got the loudspeaker on the street, which we can hear in the background. We've got birds in the background. We've got all sorts of life. And this is our object of meditation, because what we do is we come out here and we observe. And we observe over time. We observe every day, right? At different times of the day. And we watch, which things are the same, which things have stayed stable over time, right? The fish are always there. There's a stable presence. They may be doing different things, but they're there. There's a sense of stability that comes with the fish. there's a sense of stability that comes with me speaking on these videos, right? I'm a thing. I'm here. There's this thing, this person, this thing who speaks and provides a certain level of stability to this field of experience. There are the fish. They are things. As a group, they're a thing, right? And so we have all these different things at different levels, operating at different levels, operating as groups, operating as fields, operating as individuals. We have individual fish, right? And we just observe that. We just observe that, right? Like, what does that mean? What does that mean? That we have individuals, we have fields, we have this object of meditation, this thing that we look at, we observe, we listen to what's going on. We observe things happening as they happen naturally, right? Instead of imposing our own filters onto the situation, right? Now, of course, as I'm documenting this object of meditation by filming it, I am imposing a certain degree of filters onto this experience, right? But that's inevitable. But the point is that we just want to observe. We come out here, we get away from the computer, right, which has all sorts of different levels of filters, levels upon levels of filters, which create ripples, right? We can see the ripples in the water here, right? Well, all of those filters imposed on the online world are like the ripples in the water here, right? They sort of complicate the direct experience of whatever it is that we're trying to observe, right? And there are so many additional layers contained in that field, that object of meditation, which we call the online world. Because in the online world, there's really it's a much more elusive boundary, right? Here we have the pond. We have the edge of the pond, right, up there. We have the edge of the pond closest to me right now. We have down over there on the far side, we have that edge. There's an edge over there, right? There's an edge on the right side. So there's a sort of finite nature of this pond, of this object of meditation, right? But with the online world, there isn't that sort of finite boundary. And so we enter into that space, and it's just layer upon layer of ambiguity, of abstraction, right, onto reality. And as I've said many times in these daily meditations, I personally believe that one of the cruxes, one of the essential cruxes of the problems that we're dealing with right now as the quote-unquote school of humans is that we've strayed so far away from any sort of practical sense of what reality is. Okay, now you can argue, and this has been argued throughout history by, the greatest philosophers, right? You could argue about, this philosophical conundrum, this philosophical question of, what is reality, right? And you can go far down into antiquity. You can listen to Plato, Socrates, and all these guys, right? But at some point, you have to come to some sort of a practical working model of what the world is in order for you to actually function in it, right? Like the fish. They have some sort of a modus operandi, okay, through which they are able to operate in reality in a way which is doable, right? They swim around, they eat, sometimes they get freaked out, they fight, whatever, But there's some sense of order, there's some sense of functionality, right? When we look at the fish, when we look at nature, when we look at any aspect of nature, right? There's some sense of functionality. And right now, I think that humans, the school of humans is we are here, but we're not really functioning very well, okay? And you can see that. You can see that by the way that things are manifesting. I mean, we're in this, as I speak right now, we're in this severe lockdown. We've got this outbreak of quote-unquote the thing that I like to call it, because it is a thing, as I've elaborated on many times in these little meditations, these daily meditations. It's a thing. We're dealing with something which is affecting our reality, right? And we're trying to adapt to it. But I think the problem is that, tying this back in with what I was just saying, I think that the problem is that because the school of humans is so out of touch with reality, or the practical sense of reality, a sense of reality which is practical enough for us as humans to be able to function in any sort of a sane manner. I think that it's that inability for us to face reality and the tampering with that reality, which I believe is coming from within us, ultimately, through our inability to perceive reality in any sort of a functional sense, and to act upon the world and within the world in ways which are functional. Our ability to apply our method, right? This concept of method is one which I revisit constantly in these meditations. A lot of people in this world are lacking a method, or let's say are lacking an adequate method with which to be able to function in the world in a way which is, let's just say, good enough, functional enough, right? Because we're not functioning well enough right now, and that's obvious. To anybody with any sense of sanity, that's obvious. And I don't need to go into the details of that. You know, anybody watching this knows what I'm talking about and can provide their, conjure up their own examples. But again, just getting back to this concept of observing reality, trying to take off the filters, trying to step outside, right? Trying to step outside of the habits that we have, the habitual way that we look at the world, the filters, the levels and levels of filters that we superimpose on the world, which then affects our ability to look at the world the way it actually is, or to get a clear enough sense of the world as it actually is, right? And that's one of the main reasons why I enjoy doing these meditations every day, because it gets me away from the computer. It gets me off. It gets me off of that, let's say, digital crack, okay? It gets me off of that vice, that addictive thing, which provides me with pleasure, for sure. It provides me with pleasure because I'm a researcher and I enjoy having access to knowledge, right? I enjoy hearing other people's opinions about things. I enjoy connecting with other people who have similar viewpoints. I enjoy observing other people who have differing viewpoints, in the sense that if those people present those differing viewpoints in a way which I can at least, let's say, jive with, I can understand what they're saying, there's a logic to it, then I will take that in. I'll take that into my field I'll take that into my object of meditation, of my mind, and I will allow that new information, right, like the X factor in a sense, right, which it is. I let that into my field of experience, and I allow that novel or new information to work its way in to my concept of reality. And some of that I will take in and I will use in a practical, functional way as I continue sort of adjusting, right? Adjusting my concept of reality based on new information, right? Which is essentially the definition of science, right? Science is the method, the scientific method, right? We actually call it that. The scientific method is this method by which we observe reality and we then make deductions and we alter our theories and understanding of the world by taking in that new information. Okay? So, I am now in a significant amount of pain, even though I'm drinking this ginger tisane, but I think I'm going to have to sort of wind down a little bit on this video, on this meditation. Maybe I can shift the way I'm sitting here. Maybe that'll help a little bit. That might help a little bit. Yeah, that'll help a little bit. Okay. Okay. Oh, the mother's coming. The mother's coming. Okay. So, gonna wrap this up a little bit. And I'm just going to let do the little meditation where I let the camera run for 2 minutes and we can enjoy watching the fish for 2 minutes. Okay, let's start that now. Okay, so I think that's good enough. Excuse me, I think that's good enough to just have that little 2-minute sort of conclusion, meditative conclusion to these meditations. I think 2 minutes is good. Longer than that, it gets to be a little bit tedious. But anyway, I think I made the points that I wanted to make, or at least I made valuable points. Because again, I usually come out here, I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to say. But I've been pleasantly surprised by what's come out in each of these videos. There hasn't been one that I haven't felt was valuable in the sense of spending the time coming out here and doing this, right? So I'm going to take my last sip of my ginger tisane, and I'm going to go take a minute to just observe myself, and then I'm going to go back into the room and get some more stuff done. Okay.